Hey guys, I know this review took a while. I really appreciate your patience. And oh man, am I excited to talk about this one. Capcom took a game I could not get into. Okay, hear me out, you guys. Capcom took a game I could not get into and made it something I thoroughly enjoyed until the credits rolled, therefore replacing the original. You guys waited long enough, so let's get started. I am a JRPG guy who likes story in games, but seeing as how this is a gameplay focused game, I won't spend too long on the plot. The game takes place after the events of Resident Evil 2, continuing Leon Kennedy's story as he's the main character here. After intense training, he goes on a mission to Spain issued by the government to rescue the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, while fighting members of a cult. Well, the members are brainwashed and are now basically zombies, only not zombies. Some are mutated, turned into monsters, some threats are actual monsters, bugs, etc. He rescues the president's daughter multiple times throughout the game, but is successful at the end. The place blows up and the two escape. As far as my thoughts on the story, well, I do not think people consider this one of the best games of all time for its story. I mean, it's a story that serves the gameplay. It provides context to what you are doing and why you are shooting hostile villagers and whatnot. Again, gameplay is at the forefront here, which I will talk about extensively here in just a bit, but for now, let's talk about the graphics, sound, and I have a lot to say about the characters as well. I gotta say, this game looks amazing. Capcom has made some games with really good graphics in recent memory. Even the original on the GameCube still looks good to this day. I distinctly remember booting the GameCube version up, and as someone who grew up with a GameCube, I can say this is one of the best looking games on that system. As for the remake, no complaints here. Although I have seen better water in other video games. I played this game without ray tracing, but I did turn it on for a bit to see what the water looks like, and other than the screenshot and the settings, I really could not tell the difference, nor could I see how the setting made a difference everywhere else. So I played with it off to maintain top performance. Now let's talk about the characters. A lot of people say the original does not take itself seriously and is kinda cheesy, but I remember the voice acting being pretty good, minus... Ugh. I normally would criticize cheesiness, but in this game, it works in its favor. The game has a good sense of humor here, and it's almost like it's self-aware of the Jill sandwich line from way back when and the voice acting in the PS1 days. Both the original and the remake know their past and pokes fun at themselves for it, and I like that. I say this because I like Leon in this game. He's so serious, but he has a sense of humor. It's what makes that cheesiness that people talk about seem uncheesy to me, while also it doesn't force the humor, if that makes sense. I did not finish the original game because, well, Ashley kind of killed that game for me. The only thing I remember about Ashley in the original is, "Help, Leon!" It got on my nerves quite a bit. If it weren't for that, I would not have an opinion. The remake, on the other hand, I actually kind of like her here. There are a few tidbits that made her more likable as a character to me. There was this exchange between her and Leon that made me chuckle.
Leon, what are you doing?
Don't even think about trying this yourself.
Me? As if. Leon, are you kidding me? Jumping across chandeliers, seriously, who does that?
What are you, my mother?
I also really like this puzzle with the dinner tables as it shows Leon and Ashley's personalities. Leon rings the bell with no hesitation or second thoughts, as if he knows he must do this to press forward and whatever happens happens, even if it sucks. After all, he's got the experience to deal with whatever comes his way in this game. Ashley is clearly the opposite. She hesitates as shown here, is afraid of what could happen, but rings the bell because she trusts Leon and will follow his lead. There has been lots of controversy surrounding Ada Wong's voice actress. As for me, I'm still only familiar with Resident Evil 2 Remake and this game's Ada Wong, while also very vaguely remembering the original 4's Wong. I have noticed the voice actress is different, and as for the performance, well, it's different. That's really the extent of my opinion. I just started playing the series a few years ago, guys. I'm still a bit of a new fan. Gotta admit, Ada Wong is beautiful. Luis, I don't have a whole lot to say about, but oh yeah, I nearly forgot to mention that Leon and Ashley got something injected into them that would turn them into members of the cult, but Luis saves them in the end. I gotta mention, Salazar, one of the game's villains, looking at him in the original made me chuckle a little bit, but that was probably intentional as he looks like a young boy that's hard to take seriously. But here in the remake, oh gosh, he looks so freaky, I don't know what to think. He does not look like a young kid, but his face, I can tell he's male, but there are certain camera angles that make him look like he has the face of a grandma. Like, wow, it is freaky. I really like the song that plays when you browse the merchant shop. It's like I know nothing about the guy, yet I trust him. The song is so soothing because that is the vibe I get from it. The creature designs are great too. The scenery changes up as you play the game. Okay, I'm rambling now. Let's talk about the gameplay. Oh man, the way this game controls is like a dream. I got into this game minute one because of that. It sounds like I'm overpraising the controls some, sure, but the controls in the original were the reason why I thought it was okay minute one. I tolerated the tank controls the best I could, but I did not find them ideal. And I get it. The original inspired Gears of War, Dead Space, Uncharted, Mass Effect, and The Last of Us by reinventing the wheel on third-person shooters with its over-the-shoulder viewpoint that became the standard for the genre after. I am grateful to it for that, don't get me wrong, but the thing is, I played all the games I just listed before even touching the original Resident Evil 4, and I'm saying that as someone who grew up with a GameCube. I was used to moving around while aiming, but since you can't move and aim at the same time in the original, it felt awkward to me. Sorry guys, I was spoiled by games newer than this one. But with the remake's modern controls, I ended up playing this new version of the game for hours. I literally had a 180-degree opinion change, and I even contemplated on giving this game a 10 out of 10 for a while. Tank controls are gone, and I can move and aim at the same time. But the AI is changed to accommodate. There's so many more enemies around. In fact, if you add in much more, you could have a Dynasty Warriors Resident Evil game. While the original's enemies moved slowly towards you so you could take time to aim, nah, in this version, you gotta keep moving around. You can't stay in one place very long. I've noticed some even rush up to you, but I am not about to complain because of these controls, man. I really appreciate how Capcom went the extra mile to make the AI accommodate to the new controls so moving and aiming does not feel tacked on. Also, Resident Evil 4's gameplay is chapter based, so it is a bit linear. I do prefer the Metroidvania-esque Resident Evil 2, but this game manages to do such a great job at being a linear experience while also allowing exploration. I also prefer Resident Evil 2 because I like its puzzles, but the remake of this game seems to have more than the original, which is a plus in my book. I do not always mind linearity. I enjoy Gears of War, Halo, and Uncharted, but for some reason, the original's linearity was a point of contention for me when I played it years ago. I was not sure why that was, but it did make sense after playing Resident Evil 2. But for this remake, another reason why I played it for hours was because it allowed me to go exploring some, particularly the early chapters before you head to the castle. Better yet, you get rewarded for exploring. I also appreciate how Capcom made the expanded areas feel like a natural part of the game and not tacked reflect on. This is a pretty guns blazing Resident Evil. The earlier games were about limited resources and then strategically discerning whether or not to use ammunition on a zombie, but not so much this game, as it felt necessary to kill everything before proceeding. However, you do not have infinite ammo, so this game gave the feeling of limited resources. You'll find a lot of stuff, sure, but you will use a lot of it, which is why you'll want to go exploring to find loot. There are also these side quests added to the remake. They're pretty standard, sure. Some are like kill rats, shoot blue coins like in the original, kill a regenerator, etc. This would be a flaw if this were an open world game, but the main scenario is the meat and potatoes, and I enjoyed doing them for the rewards. So what are these rewards, you may ask? Well, here is where the fan favorite merchant comes into play. Some loot you find are this game's currency, and you can buy new weapons or make them better. You can also buy crafting materials to get more ammo. Some loot you find are treasures that you can sell to the merchant. I also think this is where this game gets some of its replay value. The different guns I could try using in different playthroughs, as well you can probably can't get everything for the merchant in one playthrough. There are these treasure maps that you can get from the merchant that marks locations of treasures on the map. I do enjoy getting these, although I hate how one is locked behind a paywall via DLC. Come on, Capcom! I want to do another playthrough to pick up treasures and do side quests that I missed. I also like how there tends to be multiple solutions to one problem. For example, at this place full of bridges, you can snipe the villagers avoiding them attacking you, or you could take them head on, use whatever tools you have, or you could use those explosive barrels lying around. My favorite example of this is in the castle in this one room where there are cultists and these blind monsters with Wolverine-like claws called clawers. Clawers follow and attack where sound is, which seeing these bells gave me an idea. I think I'll fire one shot here and let the clawers do the dirty work. Let's try that again. Oh man, that never gets old. Work smarter, not harder, folks. Finally, to just kill them, I would use a flashbang and shoot their backs, which are their weaknesses, or ring the bell to have their backs turned to me. There's good enemy variety here. Another enemy worth mentioning are the regenerators. I did get jump scared coming across one of these for the first time, and to kill them, you have to shoot them in specific spots. The thermal scope really helps with this, but I am also glad I did not come across too many of these because they can be bullet sponges. I also like the shooting gallery minigame. I usually welcome minigames if I want to take a break from the main scenario. I enjoy this game's boss fights too, particularly the lake monster fight where you throw harpoons at him. But I also bring this boss up because in the original, when you get knocked off the boat, you get this quick time event where you have to mash the button to swim back, but this part of the fight was removed. In fact, the quick time events have been reduced to a bare minimum in this game. They're still here in this Vertigo boss fight as you have to press a button to dodge his attacks, but they've been for the most part removed, so now you can sit back and enjoy a cutscene. Though I admit I suck at reacting to these QuickTime events on a keyboard. I also need to mention the giant boss fight as well, because the dog helps you in the original, but in the remake the dog is dead? Wait, what's that I hear? I'm just kidding, never mind, false alarm. Here, let me help you out here, buddy. There you go. The dog also comes back to help in the same boss fight as well. There's also Leon's mentor Krauser. The knife was not my most used weapon, but I really liked his knife-to-knife boss fight as well as the part where you avoid his strategically placed traps. I'd be here all day if I talked about the boss fight, so what's next? Oh yeah, Ashley, the character that killed the original game for me. I did beat the remake, but in the original, I only got as far as the two giants fighting the incinerator. A big chunk of the original game was an escort mission, and for me, it was a pain. She has her own health meter. You can accidentally kill her and get yourself a game over. You also get a game over when an enemy picks her up and gets too far away if you don't rescue her. And going down this lift sucks because I had enemies hit her and me, and there's not much room to move around in. Thankfully, this was cut in the remake. The escort mechanics are still in the remake, but what killed the original for me is now a minor annoyance. Ashley no longer has a health meter, but you do have to help her sometimes when she gets caught in a bear trap or when she's knocked down by an enemy. And well, if an enemy picks her up, it seems I most of the time just turn around and shoot her captor as well. I was gonna get rid of the guy anyway. It's not as close to being as bad in the original, but probably because I played smarter? I don't know. Her not being too far away helps too. The worst part of this in the remake was in the sewer where I had to be far away from her because she had to keep a bridge up. All of these enemies came after her and I had a regenerator between her and me. I lost my cool at this part. So I had to run past the regenerator to make sure she's safe. I ran across the bridge and wait, did she just take care of the regenerator by collapsing the bridge? Thanks Ashley. I'm sorry I lost my temper. Although I'm still a bit nervous about playing this game on hardcore or professional. The escort mechanics might make me rage quit on higher difficulties. I played on normal mode. Although you do get the armor which makes her invincible and too heavy to carry, but do I really have to clear the game on hardcore mode or higher within 10 hours? Because I'm not a speedrunner. I wish this could be unlocked just by completing the game. One of my favorite parts of the game is the minecart level with Louise, but also one of my very favorite parts is where you play as Ashley. You have no weapons and it's a part that legit scares me. Walking down this hallway in the dark as the animal heads on the wall slowly come into view. The jump scare of one falling made me jump, but nothing triggered my fight or flight response in this game quite like the armor sets coming to attack you when you have nothing to defend yourself with. Then barely escaping into an elevator only to come across another one going up the stairs. It was the scariest part of the game and I wish this game had another chapter where you play as Ashley. All in all, much improved over the original. I forgot to mention you could still accidentally shoot Ashley when she's captured, but other than that, this remake definitely replaces the original. At least for me. My favorite Resident Evil is still the Resident Evil 2 remake, which is a 10 out of 10 in my book, but I still enjoyed this one and it was a good time. Although I will have to digest it for a while to see where it ranks among the RE games for me. I give this game a 9 out of 10. The remake is so much better than the original for me. The Ashley mechanics are still kind of annoying here and there, but what killed the original for me was something I tolerated in the remake. What was clunky in the original felt great to control in the remake. The remake took what I did not like about the original and made it enjoyable for the most part, and the remake making this again a replacement for the original. I know I spent this review bashing the original, which is not something I wanted to do as I know that is some people's favorite game of all time, but a remake is bound to have people making comparisons to the original. And I admit, the original did have a few pleasant surprises when I played it. I thought I was going to get a zombie game, but no. The graphics were really good. It was less predictable than I was expecting in terms of environments and enemy variety. It did manage to legit scare me a couple of times. And hey, it's considered one of the best games of all time for changing the video game industry. But of course, if I have the option of playing a version of a game that has great controls and has escort mechanics modified to be more enjoyable, then I am going to only play that version of the game going forward. It's thanks to the remake that I can talk about this game in a positive light and seeing high praises. This game is capable of a 10 out of 10 and maybe in the future I will think, man, I underrated that game. But I'll stick with a 9 out of 10 for now. Thank you all for watching. I really hope it was worth the wait for you guys. And if you did enjoy it, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. I appreciate it, and good night.
It all feels lost. Then you hear a voice inside you say